This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Tom Brady. Let me get into a little Tom Brady action because the Tom Brady comments to me, I find, and I know some of you asked me about him yesterday, and I want to go over the Tom Brady comments because I th- here's the problem that I have with everything that has been said about the Tom Brady stuff. Again, just like the last thing, there is no substance to any of this. And that to me is probably the strongest part about all of this. If you listen to his comments, okay, his comments weren't necessarily anything that would say that he's coming back at all. And by the way, didn't Tom Brady already have a video a couple of months ago sitting on a beach where he said he was retired and he's done and it's over? And then he told you that, he's hanging out with his daughter and that he adopted a cat and all that kind of stuff. And so he's already told you he's retired. So let me ask you something. How many times do you need to hear I'm retired? Is that why people are writing about his comment when his comment really never said anything actually? If you listen to the quote, okay? All right, here's the quote. I'm gonna read the quote for you guys, so you can go ahead and remember. He's already had his video with his sappy face that he retired, right? And then that report came out that he was that maybe and I don't have any time for that. I'm with my daughter. I just adopted a cat. Do you know how long? You know how much time it takes to take care of a kitten? All that kind of stuff. So then again, he goes, "Oh man, I will say now that I'm not affiliated with any team anymore. And even though I have some ties to a couple teams, I do have some friends on the Dolphins that I really like," said Brady. "I wouldn't say I'm necessarily rooting for them all the time, but I root for my friends to do well." What does that say? Where in that quote does it say that he's not retired? Where does it say that he might come back? Let me read it again. On his, it popped up again Thursday. Brady was in Miami to speak at the Emerge America's Technology Conference. Brady, 45, was asked whether he would come out of retirement to play for the Dolphins given the time he's spending in South Florida. "Oh, man, I will say now that I'm not affiliated with any team anymore." He already told you he's retired. He reiterated that he was retired. And then he says, "And even though I have some ties to a couple teams, because that's why they're asking, because he's in Miami, okay, I do have some friends on the Dolphins that I really like." That's it. And then he says, "I wouldn't say I'm necessarily rooting for them all the time, but I root for my friends to do well." Where does that indicate that he's leaving the door open? Where does that indicate that he wants to play at all? In that quote, where does it say anything? How many more times does he have to say he's retired? And maybe that's what it's all about also. That's it. And then you've got people, "Oh, well, he doesn't squash it." Asshole, he just squashed it on the beach 2 months ago. Then he squashed it again with his comment with his daughter and the kitten. How many more times? He just told you, "Man, I am not affiliated with any team anymore. And even though I have some ties to a couple teams, I do have some friends on the Dolphins that I really like." That's it. Friends that he likes, not that he's willing to play or contemplating or anything like that. And then he says, wouldn't say I'm necessarily rooting for them all the time, but I root for my friends to do well." Where is that talking about coming back, contemplating it, not retired? Nowhere. Again, narrative. Let me create something so I can get clicks, so I can get people to watch, so I can get my name out there, so I can get my website, my newspaper, whatever it is. But anybody that tells you that he didn't squash it, he's already squashed it. And there, in this quote, he said nothing. All he said was that he roots for some of the players on the teams. And of course, I have some ties to a couple teams. Well, he played for the Patriots and played for the Bucks. So of course he's got ties to a couple of teams. That doesn't mean anything either. But let's make it more than what it really is. That's all. Let's just make it more than it really is. Why? Because we didn't hear retirement for the third time in the last 2 months. This is why. Even though he never said anything about playing, he never said he was interested, he never said he was talking to anybody, nothing. Nothing was said in that statement. But it's the off season. We're bored. Basketball, hockey, and baseball and soccer can't carry enough. So any nugget that they can get from the NFL, let's spin what Tua has to say this week. Let's spin what Tua has to say next month. Let's spin however I got to spin it in order so I can get some hits and attention to it for whatever Tua says or whatever Brady says. Silliest shit that goes on. Good thing is, I don't fall for most of this bullshit. But it's just ridiculous. Guy said nothing whatsoever. Marlins.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.